I mean, there's components of core research and use, there's components within the community development programme. The research portfolio in agriculture and DFID has 4 components. We support the International Agricultural System, the CGIAR, Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research. We also support southern regional organisations in the continent of Africa. And then at the high end, in terms of the blue skies type research, we're partnering with research councils to provide higher risk, potentially longer term research products that are addressing those challenges that might well be 20 years, 30 years ahead. And then lastly, this enormous emphasis on getting research products into practice and getting the impact of research. So this is where the focus on research into use comes into play. Particularly important given the requirement of the department to see its research products being used to improve the lives of the poor. Two things that the Research into Use project can contribute to DFID's objectives within the agricultural research portfolio. One, it can aid the results of past research, making it into practice and making it into practice at scale. So it can promote the uptake of research products from research that DFID has commissioned in the last 12 years or so. And number two, it can tell us a little bit about the process of getting the end products of research into practice. So rather than just the specifics that are attached to certain research projects, it can actually tell us a little bit about how better you get the end products of research into practice and affecting the livelihoods of people in the countries that DFID focuses on. I think there's a number of aspects to this. I mean, in terms of impact, we're looking at affecting people's lives, and so it's good to hear on the ground stories where people's lives have been affected by the research process and the uptake of research and technology and knowledge. So there's sort of human element to it almost. There's also very much the value for money angle and the need for donors to justify to themselves and to their taxpayers that the money that's spent on research is really having an impact. DFID is placing increasing emphasis on results and outcomes, and the need for a rigorous assessment of its research programs and the outcomes of those. So if anything, this will become an even more important part of our view of our research portfolio and the way it's taken up subsequent to the research component. It all relies, I think, on solid and rigorous information gathering, on a clear and transparent research process, on ensuring that the research objectives are set from the communities that we work with and then fed back within those communities and assessed within those communities at the end of the research process. And at some point, an exit by DFID from that process, which in an ideal world is then left as a sustainable change within that community. There are clear advantages to the process of getting research into use, of using brokers, and it's almost a unique role that people will not be aware of. It's pushing at a small bottleneck essentially, and the broker seems to fulfil that role of overcoming that bottleneck to getting research into use. There are a number of ways in which the private sector can aid this process, and to some extent they will vary from region to region. But one important one, I think, is to use the skills that often are in the private sector in getting impact at scale, overcoming some of the practicalities of getting research knowledge and products into use, and thinking longer term, actually getting a more sustainable basis to those research products. Using the private sector to access that bottom billion is an important way really of getting impact within the communities that agencies such as DFID seeks to influence. And it's a slightly different role the private sector, but one that within the research into use program seems to be gaining some momentum. It's important that with any of these initiatives to be fully conversant of your target audience, and those approaches are geared specifically to the bottom billion, the poorest within the communities in which the research into use program works. In order to get replication at scale and to transfer lessons from one region to another, one country to another, you've really got to concentrate on the process and the lessons that come out of how to get the research into use in that particular local context, but in the how to transfer or transport that knowledge elsewhere. And the only way to get research uptake at scale is to use those generic lessons, because local context will always be different. We're looking to see the results of investments in research that were made some time ago by their uptake into practice. So we're looking for individual case studies where investment in research has fed all the way through into changes to people's lives, the changes in practice. And we're also looking for the ways to scale up that process and to see it become almost self-supporting, so that it is not simply a process that applies to one agricultural technology in one state or one region, but it's something that that we can take to different sectors and different parts of the world, and we know essentially how to seed that process of getting research and knowledge out into practice.